In 2024, pre-painted Heroscape miniatures are coming back. And that's why I keep these guys hiding back here, in pretty much every video. But the question everybody wants to know is how much are they going to cost? Fortunately, the always amazing free market has a perfect good answer for you, ready to go. So back when Age of Annihilation was a HasLab project and the Heroscape mob came out with their pitchforks and torches and went after Avalon Hill, they had two main complaints. Now, one was that the miniatures were not pre-painted, and two was that the whole thing was just way too expensive. Now, in regards to the pre-painted miniatures, or the lack thereof, we really don't know how many, pre-reservations of the HasLab campaign that actually cost Avalon Hill. There are some people who said this is a problem, and presumably some amount of people didn't back the campaign because of that, but we don't know exactly how many that was. And then, conversely, on the price issue, the entire box set was a one-time purchase of $250. Now, for the people who complained about the price, what we don't know is, A, did that mean it was just too much money for a one-time purchase, or just the general value of the products, even if they were available separately, was just not good enough for them to go ahead and back the campaign. In theory, if that was the case. Obviously it wasn't, but and we're talking theoretical there. So when Renegade enters the picture here, where they've got the license for Heroscape from Avalon Hill / Hasbro, all that kind of stuff, they need to somewhat address these challenges if they want to make the game a success. And just recently, we got an announcement from them. Okay, it's kind of like a pre-announcement for Renegade Con 2024, where it had some interesting information about Heroscape. Let's start there by taking a look at what they said. There's two lines here that we want to take a look at. The first reads, P.S. to our Heroscape fans, check out the fine print below. And then the fine print reads, all the details of the first wave of 2024 pre-painted Heroscape Age of Annihilation game releases and Heroscape terrain system boxes will be revealed during the con, and pre-orders will open at that time. And with that, there's a whole lot of rejoicing of Heroscape fans and pre-painted miniatures were coming back. But of course, the big question is, how much are these packs going to cost? And to help answer that question, we obviously don't know exactly what Renegade's planning right now. But there's already a pretty well-functioning market for pre-painted miniatures out there, and just like 20 years ago when Heroscape was originally released, that market is being dominated by the Wizkids company, even though it's a legally different entity, but that's whatever or not, it's still more or less Wizkids and how they functioned 20 years ago. So we can take a look at some of their examples of products and see if any of those price-wise kind of could be a nice analog for what we might expect for Heroscape. There's really two price points when it comes to Wizkids pre-painted miniatures. What you're taking a look at here is kind of the lower end price point in the form of HeroClix, which is still, I believe, basically the same game that was around 20 years ago. And there's still pre-painted miniatures that you buy in boosters. I'm taking a look here at what I believe is the 60th anniversary of the Avengers comics, at least that's what the set is called. It came out just a few months ago in June of 2023, so this is a good example of the current state of HeroClix miniatures. Now, a booster pack for HeroClix retails for about $17 to $18 MSRP. You can get older stock for cheaper than that, but that's, old stuff that people are trying to get rid of. Therefore, you do a quick math there, you're looking at maybe somewhere between $3 to $4 for a pre-painted miniature, and I need to make an important disclaimer with what you're looking at right here. What you see in terms of these four miniatures with Captain America, Black Panther, Iron Man, and the Hulk, they don't look as good as you see right here. Feel free to go over to eBay and look up these exact figures, and you can see that they're a lot flatter, less contrast. Now, when it comes to talking about the quality of pre-painted miniatures versus things you paint yourself, pre-painted miniatures just don't look nearly as good just because they gotta be done fast and cheap. And kind of like what I mentioned here with this HeroClix miniature I was looking at a moment ago, in general, they're very flat. So there's no washes to add any kind of contrast to the miniatures. There's very limited highlighting of any form. There's no manually adding of shadows. It's pretty much one quick paint job with some details filled in here and there. Now, while HeroClix is fairly cheap, like I said, about $3 to $4 per miniature, probably depending on production details, The problem is these miniatures are relatively low detail compared to what we've seen so far for Heroscape Age of Annihilation. Because I'm assuming that Renegade is going to be running with sculpts that are identical to what Hasbro or Avalon Hill showed off at the HasLab campaign. Therefore, to get a better idea of what we're actually looking at in terms of price, we probably need to go up one level to the assorted different role-playing miniatures that Wizkids sells. So Wizkids has a license for Dungeons & Dragons pre-painted miniatures. They also have the license for Pathfinder pre-painted miniatures, and they produced a Critical Role pre-painted miniatures. Like I said, they run the market. Now, each of these three types of miniatures all roughly fall in the same price range. And I believe the detail level of these miniatures is closer to what we can expect from Heroscape Age of Annihilation than HeroClix. And all told, when you look up the number of miniatures that are in the set, do some rough math for the MSRP of these things, factor in the fact that there's a few smaller miniatures which are going to be cheaper to produce, you're looking around $8-ish for a human-sized miniature that's pre-painted. And just like the HeroClix miniatures, even though these have more paint on them, when you look at them up close at like eBay and things, they are still relatively flat without a whole lot of contrast and a whole lot of highlighting. So they're still pretty basic standard pre-painted miniature paint jobs. Now we get to the topic of the larger size monsters, or larger size characters in Heroscape, whether it be like Zenithrax the Soul Weaver, or like Zed Nedsbik. I never get his name right. You know I'm talking about, the big blimp guy. And when it comes to at least some of the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures, we have larger pre-painted miniatures, and you're probably not going to like the price. And the MSRP of this guy, oh sweet mercy, it's on sale for $50. Okay, so the retail of this guy was $100, and he's on sale for $50. Told you I wouldn't like the price. We're not entirely sure how the size between this guy compares up to Zenithrax, because I obviously haven't seen Zenithrax in real life. I don't even know if that Soul Weaver dragon thing is comparable to one of the old dragons, but you know, something like this guy here, Nilfiem, you're probably looking $30, $40 if you're to get this guy today pre-painted on a modern day pre-painted standard. So yeah, these guys are going to get probably more expensive pretty quickly. If you imagine that Renegade is going to be taking the old school Heroscape approach where you have those wave boxes. We don't know if they're going to or not. This is just kind of a comparison hypothetical situation where you had between 5 and 7 pre-painted human-sized miniatures for the most part in those things. You're looking at a price point of about $40 to $60 for a box set, and that's like a little nerve-wracking there. I mean, that's not a high price, as we've seen here. That's a very competitive market price. But the concern I would have is that if Heroscape players are still kind of in that old Heroscape is a cheap toy-ish price range, it's going to be a bit of a sticker shock for them. Maybe, maybe not. I guess we're going to have to find out when the pre-orders go live. And then if you think about, you also had those large packs where it was like 5 monsters. That's where at least some of these dragons came from. I think he came from one, the green dragon guy. Oh, I should know his name. It's not on the bottom. Charon or Sharon or something like that. I would think those sets could go for $100 plus dollars. That's not completely unreasonable given the current market rates. So if I was Renegade and I had the money to burn on a new Heroscape product, what would I do? This is my crazy crackpot theory. You want to be able to reach new players, but you also want to kind of be able to give something really cool that's going to be exciting for the old players. If I want to go ahead and play the nostalgia factor for old players, I would definitely release a pre-painted set with these heroes in it. These are the old guys from Swarm of the Morrow that are now going ahead, and they're in the future timeline of Age of Annihilation. You've got 2 bigger miniatures here with Evil Raylan and Sonlin. You've got Q11, who's a medium-sized thing. Then you've got some 2 human guys for Sergeant Drake Alexander, as well as Shiori. I would think this set, as a pre-painted, you could be looking somewhere in the $80-ish range. It really depends on the size of these 3 bigger miniatures. It could be up or down a little bit more based on that. And then when it comes to the new players, I would probably have some that's roughly similar to the previous generation's master sets, or maybe even 2 smaller starter sets that are maybe, you know, like, because some of the factions in Age of Annihilation are basically at war with each other. You could have those 2 guys fighting in one box set and 2 others fighting in a box set. Those would probably not be pre-painted just because you want to keep costs down and make them appeal to a new player base. And therefore you could kind of go with the general product line or non-painted, and then you have a premium product line that is pre-painted. Will Renegade go that way? Who knows? We'll find out in March here in just a few months. So hopefully that helps to give you an idea as to what to expect from pre-painted miniatures in 2024. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them, and you maybe have some interesting points that I did not consider. So I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you next time.